So the only thing different about 30, 60, 90 from 45, 45, 90 is that there are two sets of rules in a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So let's take an equilateral triangle. Now remember, the angles of a triangle add up to 180. So if it's equilateral, then these all have to be 60, right? Okay. However, if we draw this line in the middle, that's going to cut this 60 degree angle in half. And then so this would be 30 now. So it would be 30, 60, 90, right? Okay, so it's your 30, 60, 90 triangle. Now let's take a look at the relationships between the sides of a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So here, let's say we had an equilateral triangle with all sides 4, right? Now, I know from before that this is my 30, this is my 60, and this is my 90. So here, I'm going to say A is 30, B is 60, C is 90. Now I know my hypotenuse C is 4 here. And then also, if I bring this line down, it's going to cut this 4 in half. So I know the side across A is going to be 2. Now, how do we find our last side? Remember, if we know two sides of a right triangle and we want to find our third, we just use Pythagorean Theorem. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And then so this is 2 squared plus B squared is equal to 4 squared. And then so what I get is I get 4 plus B squared is equal to 16. Subtract 4 from both sides. And I get B squared is equal to it's cool, Angel. Who's this Jonathan Ruiz guy? Okay. Well, B squared, so I get B squared is equal to 12. Okay. Now you're just going to go ahead and square root both sides. And so remember how to do the square root of 12. You do the factor tree. I get 4 and 3. And then the 4 is 2 and 2. And so B is equal to 2 root 3. Okay. And on a side note, Andrea, I did get your email. I still have to email you that assignment. Okay, so just wait for it. I'll do it later today. So those of you that just came in right now, we're exploring a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So once again, I'm going to show you guys what we did. If you have an equilateral triangle, because all of the sides are 6, right? If I cut it in half, and all the angles would be 60. So if we cut one of the angles in half, it would now be 30. This is 60, and that would be 90. Okay. I know that my hypotenuse here is 6. And then if we cut the side here, if we cut this one in half, this is going to be 3, right? So I know A is 3. So I'm going to go ahead and do Pythagorean theorem again. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, right? And so I get 3 squared plus b squared is equal to 6 squared. And then so I get 9 plus b squared is equal to 36. Subtract 9 on both sides. And then I get b squared is equal to 27. If I take the square root of both sides, 27 breaks down into 3, 3, and 3. So I know b is 3 root 3. So you actually kind of will see a pattern here. Look at the side measures. So look at the length of the sides and see how they compare. See how it's very similar, or it's actually exactly the same thing. If you take a and you multiply it by root 3, you get b, right? 2 times root 3 is 2 root 3. Here, 3 times root 3 is 3 root 3. And then also, look at how the a and the c are related. 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 2 is 6, right? So they're related by a factor of 2. So once again, if you know one of the measurements, you should be able to get the other 2 in a 30, 60, 90 triangle, because you just multiply by root 3 to get the side B, and you multiply by 2 to get the hypotenuse. So now we're going to actually work on some problems. So whenever you have a 30, 60, 90 triangle, you have 3 separate legs, right? The one across the 30 is the short leg. The one across the 60 is the long leg. And obviously, you know the one across the 90 degrees is the hypotenuse. That never changes, right? But the one across the 30 is the short leg, the one across the 60 is the long leg, and the one across the 90 is the hypotenuse. Okay. So just like a 45, 45, 90, if you remember from 45, 45, 90, to go from the leg to the hypotenuse, we multiply by root 2. However, to go from the hypotenuse to the leg, we divide by root 2, right? So the same rules kind of apply here. So if I want to go to hypotenuse to short, no, sorry, my bad. I erased that, or don't copy that. Okay, if you're given the short leg and you want to get to the long leg, you multiply by root 3. Okay, and so if we go backwards, if we go from long to short, we're going to divide by root 3. Okay. However, if we go from short to hypotenuse, we multiply by 2. However, we go from hypotenuse to short, we divide by 2. Okay, sorry, that's kind of a mess there. So it's very similar to 45, 45, 90, but 45, 45, 90 only had one rule. For 30, 60, 90, there are 2 separate rules. The short leg to the long leg differs by root 3. Short leg to the hypotenuse, it's just by 2, but that one's easy. So I'm going to show you how this works in the table. We're going to do it just like how we did the 45, 40, 90, where we first do the table, and then we're going to work with the problems with the triangles. So this is short, this is long, and this is the hypotenuse. Okay. So if my short leg is 3, all I have to do, so look at the rules here, right? If they give you the short leg, all you have to do is just multiply by √3 to get the long leg, and then you just multiply by 2 to get the hypotenuse. But always go from the short leg, right? So the long leg, I just multiply by √3, so 3 times √3 is 3√3. And then to get the hypotenuse, you just take the short leg and multiply it by 2. So if x is 3, what's 2 times 3? The hypotenuse would just be 6. That's super easy, right? If you know your short leg is 3, your long leg would be 3√3, and your hypotenuse would be 6. Okay. So let's go to the next one, 1/3. So they give you the short leg. All you have to do to get the long leg is multiply by √3. So what is 1/3 times √3? Well, remember, if you multiply a fraction by a number with not a fraction, you just put a 1 underneath, right? And then so here, it should just be √3/3. And then to get the hypotenuse, all you do is you take your short leg and you multiply by 2. Well, what's 1/3 times 2? That's easy. It's just 2/3. Okay, see if you could do the next line by yourself. I know we haven't gone over something like this, but if you know the middle should be 6√3, it should be very easy to know what the x is and what the 2x is. Okay, so what should the short leg be? 6. Yeah, easy, right? Because if the long leg is 6√3, the short leg has to be 6, and obviously the hypotenuse has to be 12. Simple. Okay, now the next one, √21. Well, that's interesting. How are we going to do √21? Well, remember, if I have the long leg and I want to go to the short leg, some people can do this in their head without even, they probably already know what the short leg is. But if you don't know, remember what we could do is go up here. The short leg to the long leg, we multiply by √3. But to go from the long to the short, we divide by √3. So all I have to do is just do √21 divided by √3. And this would be √7. Okay? So this would be √7 here. Because √7 times √3 would just be √21. Okay, and then this should be fairly easy here. If I have √7 and I multiply it by 2, remember the 2 is not in the root, so this would just be 2√7. But is everyone getting to see how this table's working, right? And how they're all related? The key here is always to find the short leg. If you have the short leg, you can easily find the other 2. Okay. The next one should be really simple also. if they give you the hypotenuse is 4, you should easily be able to get the short leg, because the short leg is always just half of the hypotenuse. See how this was 6, this was 3, 2/3, 1/3, 12, 6. So if this is 4, the short leg will obviously have to be 2, right? Short leg is always half of the hypotenuse. And then you just multiply by √3 to get 2√3 here. Okay, let's go to the next problem. 4√3. So if they give you the hypotenuse, right, it's easy to go ahead and find the short leg, because all you have to do is just cut it in half. 6, 3, 2/3, 1/3, 12, 6. So half of 4√3 is just 2√3, right? Divide 4√3 by 2, you get 2√3. Now, how do you get this middle one? Yes, Angel is here. He was here. He was the first one here, Kaylee. Okay. So, how do we find the long leg here? Okay. We're going to take 2√3 and multiply it by √3. And if you remember, when we did 45, 45, 90, if you multiply √3 times √3, I think most of you here in this lecture were here on the 45, 45, 90. Remember how I told you √3 times √3 is just 3, right? For 45, 45, 90, we would always do √2 times √2 is 2, right? So √3 times √3 is just 3. Because remember, √3 times √3 is √9, which ends up being 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. There we go. Okay, I want everyone to try to do the next 2 lines. Please try these. Okay, so the next one is actually just like the problem before it. So if they give you the short leg as 8√3, and you need to get the long leg, remember to just multiply by √3, right? 8√3 times √3. And like I said before, √3 times √3 is just 3. So 8 times 3 is 24, right? Okay. And then now how do you get the hypotenuse? All you have to do is just double the short leg, right? So if 8√3 is your short leg, this one's easy, you just double that. This should be 16√3. Okay. Okay, now the next problem. So here we are going to multiply by √3. So 3√2 times √3 is just simply going to be 3√6. And then to get the hypotenuse, all you have to do, hold on. Okay, and then just to get the hypotenuse, all you have to do is multiply by 2 from the short leg, right? So 3 root 2 times 2, this should just be 6 root 2. Okay. Okay, the next one is the one that is very similar to what we did last time with the 45, 45, 90. This is the only one where you have to do some real work. So if they give you that this is 18 here, okay, how do we get the short leg? Well, remember, same process as before. If they give you the long leg and you want to go to short, you just divide by root 3. So here, 18 divided by root 3. And so if you remember from last class, we don't want that radical on the bottom. So we're going to multiply the top and bottom by radical 3, right? Do you remember we did that last time with the 45, 45, 90 when it was root 2 on the bottom? So this time, if it's root 3 on the bottom, we multiply by root 3 and root 3. So the top becomes 18 root 3, and the bottom becomes 3 times 3, and that's 3. So 18 root 3 divided by 3, 18 divided by 3 is 6. So this would be 6 root 3. And then you just double that. Those are my nephews. I'm watching them for this week. So if I double 6 root 3, I get 12 root 3. Okay, so everyone do the last 2 rows. The last 2 rows are very simple. The 7 root 3 is very similar to up here when we had 6 root 3 as the long leg. And then 16 as my hypotenuse. You could just look at any of these to see what these are going to be. And after that, we'll just go through the problems, and then you could do your homework. Okay. So this is 7 root 3 here. This is easily just going to be 7. And then I just double 7 to get me 14. And then if they give you the hypotenuse is 16, this should be really easy too. The short leg would be 8. And this would be 8 root 3. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go and to the next couple of problems. This is what your homework is going to look like. So a couple of things before we start. Always know the short leg is across the 30-degree angle. The long leg is across the 60, right? And then the one across the 90 is your hypotenuse. If you know how to make this table or arrange it, these problems should be really easy. Okay. You don't have to make the table if you know what's going on, but sometimes organizing the table will be helpful. So for example, for number 1, right? First thing you should do in this problem, whenever you have a 30, 60, 90, is label what's your short, what's your long, and what's your hypotenuse, right? Because 30 degrees, whatever's across from 30 is short, whatever's across the 60 is long, and whatever across the 90 is the hypotenuse. So this one's a really simple problem, because if you make your table here, which one did they give you in this problem? They give you the short leg. So we just put this, remember it goes short, long, hypotenuse, right? Short, long, hypotenuse. So if they give you the short leg is 10, then this becomes really easy. This should be 10 root 3, and this should be 20, right? And so you say this it should be B, and this should be A, right? Because A is the hypotenuse here, B is the long leg. And that's it. If you do your homework like this, that's all the work you really have to show. Okay? So everyone, I want everyone to go ahead and try to do number 2. Should be very simple. It's the same as number 1. And once again, you don't need to necessarily do this table. I just think it helps sometimes. Okay. So once again, first step, always label your triangle. If it's a 30, 60, 90, short, long, hypotenuse. And then if I do this, my short here is 2. So that automatically makes my long 2 root 3. And that makes my hypotenuse 4, right? And so your long was N, and your hypotenuse was M. Anyone have any questions so far? So remember, your key here is to just try to get the short leg, and from the short leg, you could get all the other ones. Now, I want to go through a couple more examples, so you, when you do the homework, you're like, oh, I don't, you can't say, oh, I didn't know how to do that. All of the examples are going to be here. So I'm going to do 3, 4, and 5 with you. Then I'm going to give you time to do 6, 7, and 8. So same thing here. First step, label what's your short, your long, and hypotenuse. So obviously these questions are not going to give you all the 3 angles, but if this is 90, this is 60, this one has to be 30, right? So this is short, this is long, this is hypotenuse, okay? Okay, now this is something that's like, oh, we have 5 root 6 over 12. This one's probably the most challenging one you might get with the short leg. So what happens when you multiply 5 root 6 times root 3, right? Well, if I do 5 root 6 over 12 times root 3, I get 5 root 18 over 12, right? Because we put a 1 over the root 3, right? Now, can we simplify radical 18? Yes, I'm going to do that up here. This is probably the longest problem you're going to get in this whole assignment. So root 18 can be broken down into 9 and 2, and 9 breaks down into 3 and 3, right? And so if we circle our pairs, I get 3 root 2. The only thing is that there is a 5 out here already, right? So if I take this 3 out, I have to multiply it by the 5, and I would get 15 root 2 over 12. Okay. So once again, where did I get 15 root 2? I multiply root 6 and root 3, and I get root 18. Root 18 can still be simplified by doing the factor tree. When you do the factor tree, you circle the 3, and your 2 is left out. So you could pull the 3 on the outside, but there's a 5 already here, so it becomes 15 root 2 over 12. Okay. Now, one last thing, you could reduce 15 over 12, right? They could both be divided by 3. So 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So my final answer here is 5 root 2 over 4. Okay. Now, the last one should be fairly simple. So 5 root 6 over 12, if I multiply that by 2, I would get 10 root 6 over 12. Okay. So I get 10 root 6 over 12. Okay. And we could simplify that by 2. So I get 5 root 6 over 6. I promise that's the longest problem we'll have here. Okay, so let's do a couple simpler ones. So let's look at number 4. If I do the labeling of this triangle, once again, this is short. Sorry, this is long, and this is hypotenuse. So if I make my little table here, so if my short is 4 root 3, I automatically know, I'm going to skip the long first. My hypotenuse would just be 8 root 3, right? You just double that. And remember, to get the long leg, you just multiply by root 3. So 4 root 3 times root 3. Remember how I've said many times, root 3 times root 3 is just 3. So that would be 12. Simple. Okay, let's look at number 5. Okay, so here's 4 before I move on. Okay, so 5, once again, if I label the triangle, this is short, this is long, and this is hypotenuse. So if I make my table here, they give me my short leg, which is 6 root 5 all over 5. If I multiply this by root 3, I'm going to get 6 root 15 over 5, right? Because root 5 times root 3 is just root 15. And then look, can you simplify root 15? No. So this is already simplified. And then the last one is, sorry, so we'll do 2x. If I know that this is 6 root 5 over 5, this here is just double that. So what is this answer going to be? It's going to be 12 root 5 over 5. Okay. So once again, if you know this short leg, all you have to do is just double it. See how this is 6 root 5 over 5? You just multiply it by 2 and you get 12 root 5 over 5. These two on the left and the right should be super easy to get. The only one you have to really sometimes work at is this middle one. Okay, but this middle one was really easy in this problem too, Because if you just multiply 6 root 5 over 5 by root 3, you get 6 root 15 over 5. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and try 6, 7, and 8. I just want to let you know that 7 and 8 are probably easier than 6. 6, you have to do kind of a little long process like number 3. So I'm just going to show you. 3 is like number 6. 7 is like number 4, and 8 is like number 5. Okay? So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that. See if you can get the right answers. Okay. So, okay, number 6 was probably the more challenging one, so I'm going to go over number 6. So, once again, this is short, this is long, and this is hypotenuse. So, if I make our little table, this table is everything for these type of questions. So, they give me my short, it's root 6 over 3. So, if I multiply it by root 3, right? Root 6 over 3 times root 3, that gives me root 18 over 3. Okay. Now, root 18, like we've done many times already, is 9 and 2, and this is 3 and 3. So the top becomes 3 root 2 all over 3. But look what happens here. The 3's just cancel, and so this would just be root 2. And then now please never get this last one wrong, because all you have to do for this last one is just double this one here. So root 6 over 3, if I double it, would just be 2 root 6 over 3. Okay. Oh, and I haven't been doing this, but this is going to be y, and the hypotenuse is x, right? So number 7, this one should be fairly simple. Short, long, hypotenuse. So if I make if our short leg is √3, if I double that to get my hypotenuse, there should just be 2 √3. And then remember, to get the middle one, √3 times √3 is just equal to 3. There, that's simple. So this is n, this is m. Okay, number 8. So they're giving my short leg again, which is 3 √2 over 4. If I multiply this by √3, √2 times √3 is just √6. Okay, did everyone see how I got that one? All you do is just multiply by √3. So √2 times √3 is √6. And then to get the last one, I just multiply the first one by 2. So this would be 6 √2 over 4. Okay. And if you, and also this could reduce, see the 6 and 4 on the outside, you could divide by 2. So this would be 3 √2 over 2. So this would be x, and that would be y. But everyone understands the process, even though you might get lost on the simplifying a radical. If you know the short leg, multiply by √3 to get the long leg, multiply by 2 to get the hypotenuse. Okay, so all of these examples, they give you the short leg first. Let's do some ones where they do not give you the short leg first. Number 9 should be super easy. This one's actually it's just like number 1 and number 2. So this is short, this one's long, this one's the hypotenuse. So if you do x √3, and 2x, sorry, that's supposed to be an x. So this time they actually give you the hypotenuse, which is 20. Well, if you know the hypotenuse is 20, you could get x because it's just half of that. This would be 10. And so this would be 10 √3. That one was pretty simple. So this one should be y, and this one should be x. Okay, so very quickly do 10. Okay. So it's very similar to number 9. So if your hypotenuse is 12, you just divide that by 2 to get this is 6. And then you just take the 6 and multiply it by √3. 6 √3. Okay. Number 11 and number 12 should also be fairly straightforward here. So short, long, hypotenuse. So they give you the hypotenuse as 8 √3. So to get the short leg, we just divide that by 2. So this would be 4 √3. And then now to get the long leg, you just take 4 √3 and multiply it by √3. Remember, we've done this many times. 4 √3 times root 3. Root 3 times root 3 is just going to be 3. So this is 4 times 3. And that's 12. Okay, so you should be able to do 12. Okay, from now on, for the sake of time, I'm not going to be labeling the triangle short, long, and hypotenuse. You should be able to figure that out. So this one, the hypotenuse is 2 root 3. So that means if you cut that in half, right, this would just be root 3. And then to get the middle, you just do root 3 times root 3. And we all know what root 3 times root 3 is. It should be 3. Or actually, instead of writing out short, long, and hypotenuse, I'm just going to put S, L, and H. Okay. So in this problem, what do they give you this time? They give you the long leg. They give you the long leg. So I'm going to put 2 root 3 here. But if you have the long leg and it's 2 root 3, obviously the short leg is just going to be 2, right? Because look at how the pattern is here. And then what's 2 times 2? 4. I'm going to skip 14. 14 is very similar to 13. And I want to make sure we get through every single type of problem you're going to get. So we only have 2 more types. So number 15, this is my short, my long, and my hypotenuse. So once again, what did they give me here? They give me 5 root 3 over 2. Okay, this one is very similar to 13. Just don't get thrown off by the fraction here, right? So look, if this was 2 root 3, we know this had to be 2. You just take away the root 3, right? Because if I multiply it, I get the root 3. So here, this is 5 root 3 over 2. My x here would just be 5 halves. Does everyone see that? Here, if you have a root 3, you know that this would just be whatever is not the root 3, which is this 5 over 2. Okay. And then now if I just double that, 5 over 2, and I double that, this would be 10 over 2. And 10 over 2 is equal to 5. Okay. So once again, I'm going to show that example one more time. Okay. So if this is 7 root 3 over 2, if there's a root 3 over here, I know this would just be 7 halves. And then if I double that, 7 times 2 is 14 over 2. And this would just be 7. Okay, the last type of problem is the one I'm going to go back up to our table. And this is the one that we ended up here at the very end, where you divide by root 3. And then you have to do this root 3 over root 3. So I'm going to show you 2 examples, and then we'll be done. There's a you do, but I think after doing 2 of them, you'll be able to do here. So this is long, this is short, and this is hypotenuse. So once again here, they give you that this is 10. So this is the one where you have to work. To go from here to get back to your short leg, we have to divide by √3. And remember, when you do that, you have to rationalize it by multiplying the top and the bottom by √3. And so this becomes 10 √3 over 3. Then the last step is easy because all you have to do is just double that. So this will just be 20 √3 over 3. Okay. So let me show you how to do it again for number 18. This is short, this is long, this is hypotenuse. So if I do my table, so here they give me my long side is 3. To get to the short leg, you just have to divide by radical 3. And so I multiply the top and bottom by radical 3. And I get 3 √3 all over 3. Okay. And look what happens here, the 3's cancel. And so I get √3. And then if I double that, this will just be 2 √3. Okay, so it's about 2 o'clock, so I'm going to end it. A couple of things. You should be able to really do the homework. If you haven't seen how the homework looks like, I even told you what to do. Look, this is the homework. And I tell you for each problem which one to look up in the notes. This one is just like number 1 and number 2 in the notes. Number 2, this is just like number 4 and number 7 in the notes. Number 3, it's just like number 5 and number 8. So you know where to look for in your notes to do the homework. Okay? So get this done. I also realized that last week when we did the SOHCAHTOA, I didn't put the due date on the day after. So it says on Google Classroom that the due date is tomorrow. It technically should have been done last week, but if you haven't done that, get that done. But this is the homework that's due tomorrow. Okay? So I'll see everyone on Wednesday, same time, 1 o'clock. Please attend that one. That's the one that you need to attend. Cool.